welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, my name is Ashley Villalpando, and today I have a super duper special guest. I have my mother, Christine Villalpando. She's also the founder of Gracefully Fierce. She is also a boss at the Mortgage Guys Pasadena, and she's definitely just an amazing woman, and I'm super excited to have her here on my channel. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm so excited. I'm really proud of you starting this, Ashley. Really.
Oh, thank you.
It means the world.
There might be some crying on this video, so be prepared. So quickly, I just wanted to cheers to this year, 2021. You started Gracefully Fierce in a pandemic.
2020.
Oh yeah, in 2020 you started it in a pandemic,
yeah.
And you have created a space for so many women to go and just come out feeling empowered, and I think it's just such a beautiful movement, and I'm so excited and proud to be part of it, and it's also helped me a lot in so many ways. So cheers to you. And cheers to my mom, because she's my mom, and if you know her, she's super amazing. She raised me and my brother by herself, and yeah, she's been through a lot. So today we're gonna touch on daddy issues topic, because something that we both have in common.
Yes, interestingly enough.
Yeah, so we're gonna touch on that. So I'm really excited to touch on that, because growing up I didn't really know a lot about that. I mean, I knew I had, some issues, but I didn't know how to deal with them or how to overcome them and how to not let it define me. So yeah, do you want to say anything?
Yes, I think, you mentioned it earlier today that, we have that in common, and unfortunately, us as women, we end up the first person we look for is the person that's closest to our father figure, or someone that raised us, or the men around us. So, it's not a surprise when you end up looking for that in a relationship. So it's correlated for sure, some way, somehow.
Yeah, but I think both of us have definitely overcome that.
Yes.
I know. Yes. I'm still kind of working on it, but I definitely have found a way to heal through it and not let it affect me in my relationship. So
this is good.
Okay, so we asked Instagram some questions to ask us, so let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, so the first question was there ever a time where you and your mom bumped heads, when and why? So this isn't really particularly, but it's good to start off with.
Well, we can relate to that, right?
Yeah.
I think, did you already say what you were going to talk about today, the topic?
Yeah.
Okay. I think, as a young woman, right, you only look for that certain type of love. Of course, like someone like Ashley had love at home from me, but it's not enough. It's the guidance of a father figure, that sense of security of a man, just someone stronger. A father gives you a certain foundation, right? Like a mother it's just two totally different things that come about. So I think when we did bump heads is me not understanding her growth in that period. Of course, maybe she wasn't explaining it to me. Of course, teenage years come into play, everything.
Yeah.
So, as a parent, you have this image or all these wants for your kids, not just for a woman and also a man, but it's a little different when it comes to women. There's that extra toughness, that extra, how can I put it? I don't know, maybe a little bit
expectations.
Yeah, the expectations are higher, right?
Different, yeah.
Maybe I was a little bit more overbearing because
and I
of
think
that.
A part of you just didn't want you, didn't want me to end up not in a bad way, just
right,
do the things that you did and follow in your footsteps in those ways. Like you wanted me to be better.
Yes.
I think that as a parent, that's your main goal. You want your children to be better and successful and just amazing people. So I think part of it was that, where I was just like, nope, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that.
Complete opposite of what I expected.
Out of my brother, my brother and I'm guess the rebel. I'm the crazy one. My brother was just, you know, he liked to stay home and play video games. He was a very smart, very calm. He was very into school. He was super smart. And I was smart too growing up, but I had a little wild side to me, and I think we bumped heads because my mom was a very strict mom growing up.
It had to be.
I mean, she was lenient in some ways because she was a young mom, so there was things that I could do that other kids wouldn't. So that was really cool because we also kind of grew up together in a way. I feel, you know, as you were raising us, you were figuring yourself out and growing as yourself. So I think that's also kind of the reason why I was like, oh, my mom's so strict. So there was things that I wanted to do and I felt like I couldn't. I never went to a party until I was a senior in high school. You know, it was just like my mom.
I was trying to keep her away from all of that.
Yeah, and I think because of that too, though, it kind of like was like, no, I'm gonna do it anyways. And I think that's something that I kind of learned from too. And when I have kids, I want to be able for them to be open with me.
But I would drop you off at some parties and pick you up with your friends.
Yeah, but I don't know.
You went to some that I didn't know of?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Well, I thought I was being a cool mom and picking up her friends and dropping them off.
Yeah, but when you want to drink and your mom's trying to pick you up, that's not very, Wow. But, I mean, to answer the question, we definitely did bump heads.
We did.
A lot. And it didn't just stop in teen years because I was still a little lost after high school. And I think you as a mom couldn't understand that because you just wanted me to like go to school and you wanted me to just be this perfect person, you know?
Not that I wanted you to be. It just came hand in hand with how I raised her. You know, the type of life I wanted her to have, and I wanted to break cycles. I wanted her to have a different aspect of life and how far she can go. So that, I think that's where the bumping came into play because she had her own ideas of that. And I just thought, you know, if I work, I put them in a good school, I give them a good home, you know, everything will be fine. Not that they were going to be perfect kids. I didn't expect them to be perfect. But my expectations were that they were just going to do well in life. You know, of course she is. But I really wanted both of my kids to go to college and, you know, be successful in that sense. But at the same time, it's accepting that all of your kids are different, right? They're raised the same, but their personalities come into play. So that took me a while to accept. And I think as parents, you know, we go through that too.
Yeah, and I think I definitely took for granted, you know, all of the things my mom did for me just so I could have a good life.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't, growing up, that wasn't in my head. I was just like, oh, like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to go to school, or school's not for me. And I was so scared because I knew my mom worked her ass off, like literally worked her ass off just to put us through private school our whole lives, for us to be able to go to college. She paid for our college all by herself. And I did not appreciate that. And I think a lot of people growing up, you don't realize that until you get older. And you just, you know, as you grow older, you get wiser. So I realized, like, man, my mom did all of that for me. She sacrificed all of that for me. Like, I was a freaking dummy for not, you know, taking the opportunity that she gave me in front of me. She paid for school, and I just, like, kind of was like, I don't want to do this. But
I think a father figure coming into play in that sense would make a huge difference, right? Because I know kids that are grown now, or, you know, similar to Ashley's age, and I had to because my parents, I owed it to my parents, or you know, this was my parents' dream, so I have to finish school. So I think having that core belief system is huge. I honestly think if she would have had that father figure that expected the same, things would have been different. In that sense, for sure.
Yeah, because it's like two parents, not just one.
With an expectation.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and I think females are more afraid of their fathers than their moms.
Yeah.
So
it's just like the same sex is just kind of like
opposite.
we kind of butt heads more. We're just, women are a
Yeah.
little catty, so together
Yeah.
we were just like.
But now I'm your bestie.
Yes, so now we don't bump heads. Fast forward to now, I feel like we're like BFFs. You're one of my best friends, and I feel like I could go to you and tell you anything and everything, and we're inspiring people together. So I don't know. That to me is
It's
just
huge.
it's a type of bond that I never thought we could create. I feel like our relationship is just on a whole other level, and I don't feel like we fight ever. We might get like annoyed, but
Which
but
is
who
normal.
doesn't?
It's
Yeah.
normal.
So, but yeah, I mean, I think it's normal to bump heads with your parents, and if they don't understand what you're doing, just be patient. Eventually, they will come to terms with what you're doing because they'll see that you're doing something
Yeah.
good for yourself, and it may not be the way that they envisioned your life, but they'll be happy that you're happy. And as long as you are doing things for yourself and you're just working towards your goals to be successful, I think that's all that matters. Is I think ultimately your parents just want you to be happy, right?
Yeah, I mean, it has a lot to do too with culture and the strictness of cultures. It all depends on your household, right? How your parents were raised, how they're raising you. There's so many reasons why all that can pan out differently. But, things happen for a reason. I'm a true believer in that. Ashley was meant to be here. She was meant to... I would always say she's like a bird. She does not like to be caged. She's free. And she always was going to take her own path. And to me, when you love your children, you've got to let them fly. I mean, they'll always come home. She always comes home. Like, I'm her.
If
I'm
you're a
her.
bird, I'm a bird.
Yeah, that's our thing.
If you know, you know.
If you know, you know. I think, that's really important. But a parent needs to come. It's kind of like growing up also, right? As a parent is not sticking to your ways, breaking cycles of how your parents raised you. Even when it comes to the strictness and accepting children who are, wanting to be a different gender.
Yeah.
They're your kids. You had them. At the end of the day, it doesn't change who they are. It doesn't change that they're your child. It just changes who they are, personally. So it's just accepting your kids, what they want. Of course, if they're going onto a wrong path, then that's when you have to step in, I believe, and do something about it, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh my God, you guys, my camera is dying. We'll be right back. Intermission. Okay, so next question we have is, how do you learn to accept to get treated bad from your father? How do I say that just how he is? Like, she's saying that's just how he is, being treated by her dad.
I think it's not accepting that they treat you bad. It's what kind of treatment is it, right? It's, again, forming your own peace, right? And having that emotional intelligence, because it's not that you're smart or not smart. It's knowing how being around this person affects you, mentally, physically, emotionally.
To not let it affect
take
you.
over you, right? So if you're going to go visit this person, whether it's your father, your mother, but we were talking about fathers, and they are like bashing you, you don't need to take that. Then that's when you need to make a decision. You know what? Let me love you from afar. Let me see you during the holidays or when I have to, type of thing. But again, it's how are you letting it affect you? Because a lot of the times it's how much are we allowing to happen?
Yeah, like me personally, I let my dad affect me too much. And not that he treated me bad, but he treated me bad without realizing he did. Just by the way how toxic he was and how inconsistent our relationship was. And just, he was he's an alcoholic. So, someone who's addicted to alcohol or drugs, is they don't realize what they're doing to you and how they're affecting you. So what I did is I just decided to love him from afar. I don't see him, I don't speak to him because, and he is my father and I love him, but I also have to protect my heart, and I was letting it affect me in so many different ways. I would pick up the phone every time he would call and say crazy things, and I would be at his beck and call, and it just affected me way too much, where I decided, okay, like, enough is enough. I'm done with being a victim to this, and I just, I cut it there, and I will be ready to have him in my life again once he's ready to get better and do better as a father.
Yeah, and I think here's the thing, we don't owe our parents anything. You don't owe them for you to have to go through mistreatment and just a horrible time.
Yeah.
We can choose our parents, unfortunately, but they're our parents, so it's loving them just for who they are, for how they raised us, for what they knew at the moment on how to raise us. The rest is up to us. At one point in our life, we can't keep blaming our parents.
Mm-hmm.
It's you get to that age where it's like, okay, it's still affecting me, and I'm an adult, and if you have children too, you can't bring that into your home. You just can't. So I think making those decisions are huge. Is how are you letting it affect you, and what are you doing about it?
And also just not accepting it. You wouldn't accept some stranger to treat you badly, right? So why would you even let someone like your father treat you that way? Just because they're your family does not mean anything. No one should ever treat you badly, whoever it is. That's just something that you should never allow at all, because what you allow is what you're going to receive. So if you're allowing someone to treat you like that, you're just going to constantly be receiving that. So, just be mindful of that, I think.
Yeah, and mistreatment can come in many ways, right? Someone who's passive aggressive, someone who's verbally abusive, physically, just emotionally. It can come in different forms, so just be aware of that.
Yeah,
for sure.
Definitely. Okay, you want to do your
Sure.
question?
Let me read my question that we had. And the question that was asked was, they wanted to know how helping those you love that struggle with addiction yet not losing yourself in the process. In other words, how do you help someone like a parent, I think a father especially, that struggles with addiction and not losing yourself in the process? I think it's interesting that both Ashley and I have been through something similar. Here's the thing, when someone has
Isn't that crazy though? Like, if you really think about it, both you and I have very similar fathers. We've gone through very similar situations. Not only that, in other ways too. So that's just.
I know. Sorry, child. I think it's choosing your partners. It says a lot, right? Because if you had a father, unfortunately, that was not going through the right path. It's having the knowledge to look opposite. I remember one therapist told me, if you want to be happy, you need to look opposite of what you're used to. And it's definitely crucial, so crucial. And I'm a true believer in that is, we're used to what we're used to. We become accustomed to learned behaviors on what's in our household. And it's just in our nature, right? Doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you.
Unconsciously, we don't realize it, but...
Yes. So, I'm sorry that I ended up choosing someone just like my dad, and now it's affecting you, or it has in some way, somehow. But, now you know better, right?
Yeah.
For yourself and for your future children.
And I wouldn't be the woman I am today if I didn't go through that, and I'm grateful for it. Now I've learned from it, and that's the most important, is learning from your struggles and not letting it define you. So I finally decided not to let it define me, and I'm grateful for the mom you were, because not everybody has a mom that's willing to step up to the plate like that,
Yeah.
So, oh no, my mom's already getting teary-eyed over here.
I think too, it's if the person has when there's addiction, it's a disease. I think it's knowing that you can't reason with a person that has an addiction. Sometimes they don't realize it's an addiction. It's just something they do, but it's
not in the right state of mind. It's like impossible to get through to them.
Right. It's like a disease. So
why don't you share a little about your dad?
Okay. So my dad, I grew up, thinking, I have a normal life, we have a family, we're happy, we're doing normal things. But it wasn't until I was in the 4th grade that, I realized that my dad was into trouble, and I didn't know what kind of trouble it was. He unfortunately met, wrong people. He wanted the fast life and got into drugs. So besides dealing, he was using drugs, and that was really hard for us. From me being in the 4th grade, maybe 10 years old, all the way to high school, it's something very hard to accept and understand. Thankfully, I had one parent that was stable, meaning, I didn't lose my mom. I know she was going through depression, maybe even clinically depressed.
And she had 5 kids, okay, everybody? That lady had 5 kids.
Yeah,
Wow.
she still woke up every day to go to work. We still had our uniforms ironed. We still had a lunch ready. She is a true warrior to me, and thankfully, she took us on the right path. But it affected me in so many ways, and I was the type of girl that would go rescue him if he called. My mom would go with all of us to go get him from a bar, and I think at that moment, I don't blame her. That's all she knew, but it affected us in so many ways. And at one point, we would rescue him, and he was like this pillar, like, we had him up here regardless of everything that he did. But at the same time, we had good times and bad times. And I think, holding on to those good times outweigh all the bad, and understanding that I did what I could at that point. I was so young. And as an adult, it's, again, making a choice. Do I want him to be part of my life, or do I not? There's no gray area. It's yes or no. And if it is a yes, it's accepting what comes with that, right? It's different if, he was high and on drugs right now, which he isn't, thankfully. But I would make a decision, regarding my children. I'm not going to have them around, because I think it just depends on your situation. And it's understanding that you have no part in that addiction. And all you can do is try to help them, but you can't let it consume you, because the person has to accept their addiction, has to know, okay, this is what I want, and I want to get better. Mm-hmm. If they don't, then you can't be that person. You can't.
Yeah. For me, my dad is an alcoholic. My mom decided to leave my dad because she didn't want that for us. She didn't want us to go through that, because I think if you stayed, we would have seen you guys fight and who knows what else. So I'm so grateful that my mom decided to choose her and choose a better life for not only herself, but for me and my brother. I think it takes a brave person, a strong person. So because of her, I wasn't in that situation. But my dad did come looking for me, and he was drinking at the time when we started to go see him. We would go to the police station every other weekend and get picked up. He would show up with police cars to pick us up, and I remember sometimes calling my mom crying because he was fighting with his girlfriend at the time. And it was a lot to go through as a young girl. And he finally got sober. For a very long time he was sober, and that was the best years that we had with him. We had this sober dad, and that was kind of like a normal dad. I lived a normal life for a little while, and it was great. But I don't know what happened in his life, but about 4 years ago, he started doing drugs. He started doing coke and, other drugs. He started selling it. He started drinking again, and it just kind of went downhill from there. And for a while, I would pick up those phone calls when he would say crazy things. He was driving drunk, and I went through a lot of situations where I had to go rescue him. He was like, I need a phone. I gave him a phone, one of my old phones. I was there as much as I could until I realized that I was letting it consume me. When I was having a good time and I would get that call, then I'd be bawling on the phone like, no, Dad, stop, don't do that. He would say nobody loves me, all these things. They play this victim role, like nobody understands them, and it's crazy going through it. You don't realize it, but they're just sick and they're addicts, and you have to understand that that's who they are. They're always going to be an addict, and it's ultimately up to them for them wanting to get better for themselves. You can only do so much, but like my mom said, you can't let it consume you, because once you do, you're just in this constant cycle, and they're always going to look to you to get rescued. They're always going to know that they can pick up that phone and continuously do that to you. They can still be an addict and still call you, and you'll be there. But no, like, that's not okay, and you have to understand too that you don't have to give in every single time, and you're not a bad person for doing that, but like, enough's enough. You know, they have to want to change for themselves and for the people around them. They don't realize how much they affect everybody. So what I'm doing right now, I decided to just, you know, love him from afar, like you said, and just let him do his thing. And maybe, hopefully, all I can do is hope that one day he comes to his senses and realizes that, you know, his kids are important. None of his kids talk to him, which, what kind of life is that? Like, I don't know when he's going to come to terms with that and realize that he needs to get better. But when he does, I'll be here and I'll be ready to start the relationship again, because I do love him and I care for him. But I need him to show me that he wants better for his life and for himself, and he wants to be a better person for himself and for his kids. So,
but you can't help someone that doesn't want to help themselves, right? They need to want that first. And if you see that and they ask you, I need your help, I need your guidance, I need you to go through this with me, that is different. But I think it's kind of seeing your life kind of just flash right in front of you. That's what I did. I thought, I saw how much my mom suffered with 5 kids and what she went through with my dad. And I thought, this is going to be my life. I was 23 years old. Imagine 23, 2 kids, and my life is flashing through me. And I thought, if this is how it's going to be, where would I be down the road? So I made a decision. You know, thankfully, I had, you know, good core values. I came from, you know, a good home, meaning my mother, you know, taught me well, and she was a good person. So I thought, I don't want to give this to my children, because it's a cycle, right? If I would have stayed, it would have continued. I don't think we'd be here today. We wouldn't.
And that's for me too. Like, I also look at the bigger picture. Yeah. Like, one day I want to have a family and I want to have kids, and I don't want them to have a grandpa like that either. So I have to set the standards now, even though I don't have that family yet. I'm thinking of that future for myself and for my future family. It's like, I don't want that. So, you know, I decided to just not have him in my life, and I think it's been working very well. I've healed through a lot, and I think once he's ready, I'll be ready too, you know?
Yeah.
And I do have an amazing stepdad who has definitely done a lot for me, and, you know, I get to have that relationship, the relationship I've always wanted. So I think everything you go through, there's, like I always say, or there's beauty in every single struggle. Like, there's light at the end of the tunnel. Whatever you're going through, you're only going to become stronger after it. So, you know, don't ever give up, and always know that you're going through it for a reason, and you're only going to become a better you after it.
Yeah. And you also have the knowledge, right? Now it's out there, where before there wasn't YouTube, there wasn't this information. There's nothing you cannot learn, right? You could just Google, you know, having issues, how do I accept this? I think it's important. You know, I would say that a lot of the viewers are very lucky to be able to have access to this information, but if it's affecting you to even function, is seek help, whether it's counseling, whether it's a therapist.
Yeah.
It's so important, because I can easily tell you it's just a decision, but I'm at that point in my life because I've done work. I've gone to therapy, I've accepted things, I've made decisions, but it's important for you to understand that there is definitely a way for you to handle this. You are not alone, and it's just asking questions, finding information. Again, it's not something that's diagnosed that, oh, you have daddy issues, that's why you have all these things wrong with you. No, it is a term that just came about. But understanding how are things affecting you, and if you did come from a dysfunctional home, whether it's your father or your mother, realize how exactly is that affecting you, and then take it from there. I think that's the best.
And I think stopping it like as soon as you kind of realize it, because I let it affect me in relationships, not just, you know, boyfriends, and all different relationships. I've let it affect me. You know, how you mentioned earlier, like abandonment issues, I totally had that. I was that needy person, and I was, you know, I was so clingy because I was so scared of that person to leave me, especially in my relationships with boys. That would come up a lot, and not until I worked on myself. So that's why it's really important to constantly, like, I don't stop working on myself. And what I mean by that is I go to seminars, I read books, I listen to podcasts, I surround myself by nothing but good people with good intentions who truly love and care for me. And that fills me up with so much love that I don't even, like, I'm not even concerned about that relationship that didn't work out with my father, you know? And I no longer feel like I'm not good enough I'm not worthy enough to be, you know, a daughter or have that type of relationship with my dad. So it's important to just keep on working on yourself. And with that, you know, you're only going to get better, and you're going to heal through it, and you're going to not let it affect me. I mean, let it affect you.
Right.
So now I don't let it affect me, and I think about him from time to time, but that's it. And I just hope he's doing well, and that's all I can hope for, you know, as long as I'm really protective of my circle and my heart and who I let in. Yeah, because peace is the most important.
Mm-hmm.
And once you're truly happy and you're at peace with everything in your life, like, there's nothing more that's more amazing. Like, your life is just, I don't even know how to explain it. There's just so much greatness that comes out of it once you start working on yourself and you heal through all of that stuff. Okay, you guys, so that's it for the questions. I hope we answered them all, and I hope you guys like this video. I quickly wanted to touch on always constantly investing in yourself, and something that my mom has created is Gracefully Fierce. It is a women's empowerment event, and it's such an amazing event. If you want to just share a little bit about what it is. And
So Gracefully Fierce is something I created. I always wanted to be part of a women empowerment, and it just, you know, came about at a really good time in my life. I was going through just changes, leaving my career, joining my husband in entrepreneurship, and I felt there wasn't that information, that space that I could fit in. So that's why I created it, as supporting your spouse in business. But I realized that, you know, it's hard to be successful as a woman if you're not taking care of the inner things that have gone through you. So you can't, you know, get someone to say, oh, you got to be badass, you got to be successful, you got to be an entrepreneur, you got to make all this money, if you're not taking care of traumas or things in the past, because they will come up. So Gracefully Fierce is a space for women to come together, to open up, step into their power, to really find their passion, to know their worth, and to start using that power in everyday life. I think it's an amazing space.
I love that. Aww. Thank you for being here.
Of
Isn't she
course.
amazing? I love my mom, and I love that she inspires so many women, and I get to call her my mom. I get her every single day, and I get all of this goodness all the time. So thank you so much for being here. And when's the next Gracefully Fierce?
The next Gracefully Fierce is our 1-year celebration, August 28th and 29th. So
go get your tickets.
But our next 2-day full day is in November. I think it's November 14th and 13th, if I'm not mistaken. And it's a beautiful time to come with other women and really learn from each other. It's a safe space, and I promise
it's a healing place. So
yes, you will come out a different woman for sure.
Yes, and definitely empowered. And tell all your sisters, your cousins, your grandmas, everybody. Tell them all. So buy your tickets. And with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you, Mom, for being here.
You.
I loved having you as my guest. And please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Follow her on IG. Follow the Gracefully Fierce on IG. I will put their Instagram handle down below. So thank you guys. Cheers.
Cheers.
I love you.
I'm so proud of you.
Mwah. Thank you. Bye.
See?
On Ashley's YouTube, you get bottle service. Hey, 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 hey.
Where's the little flag?